population apocalypse has begun and Gen Z is cooked and will never make it out. Uh-oh. How many Gen Zs do we have in chat? How many of you guys are cooked and you're never gonna make it out?
Tim Pool warns of economic impact from generational shift.
You guys are
screwed. It was a tweet that I put out over the weekend that I noticed already, and many of you are going to start noticing more and more, and that is...
I am noticing.
There seems to be fewer and fewer people.
I've been noticing a little
Gen
too much.
Alpha is tiny. I've talked about it before. Boomers and silent generation are reaching what's called the mortality cliff. This is where they reach the age of about 70. So Donald Trump is an older boomer, and he's 70, I believe, what is he, 78 years old? This is the average age of mortality for an American male. This means as boomers start entering this point in their life from about 75 and upwards, death starts rapidly increasing. It is an exponential growth curve. We call that the mortality cliff. These individuals are already retired, so we're not noticing it too much right now, because it's not like these people are working big jobs for the most part, but they are dying. And this means less customers, less viewers, less sales. People who are retired still need industry, but the mortality cliff means I believe there's maybe around 60 million boomers left, 20 million silent. Within the next several years, you are going to start to notice your business isn't selling as much anymore. Your YouTube videos aren't getting the same amount of views anymore.
True.
And there are a combination of factors outside of the mortality cliff that cause this. But I had put out a tweet because I was having a discussion with people, and I mentioned this. I said, guys, we're already noticing it. Now, there's dead internet theory, fears that USAID was propping up this false image. And I know it's conspiratorial, so I will only entertain the possibility while putting on the caveat, probably not. Probably not. But I do believe there is a probability that USAID, maybe not as part of some grand conspiracy, but was creating a mirage of population through sock puppet accounts. Now, let me slow down.
What?
I am not saying that USAID was tasked with intentionally, as the people in the department, to make fake accounts and run these things. No, what I'm saying is USAID was sending large amounts of money to various countries, to various NGOs and special interests. Many of those interests wanted to create perception of popularity, creating a bubble. It is interesting to me, and it very well may be a spurious correlation, that when USAID crumbles, we begin to notice the rapid decline before our eyes. Could it be that following the financial crisis, the rapid decline in reproduction that we saw is finally coming to a head some 18 years later? There are no young people to take jobs, resulting in people starting to notice. People
that's
aren't
why
buying products anymore.
That's why they want to import everyone. That's why they want to see. That was the plan, right? Tell everybody to stop fucking and stop having kids, and then just import everybody. Yep.
But what if not just USAID, but other systems were propping up social content?
That was their plan the whole time.
Make people feel like the economy was growing digitally. And now that that system is shut down, not the only one, people are starting to notice, hey, what's going on? Across the board, people are noticing social media is on the decline. Now, some say it's just summer. This is not normal. It may be decentralization, an expansion of new content and new platforms across the board. I don't think that explains everything. I think the reality is there is no new generation to replace us. So take a look at this. It's funny, this news outlet wrote a story about me. They like to write about my tweets, but the tweet that I wrote did in fact get a lot of attention, and it was kind of a shower thought, as it were, as I was having a conversation with 3.5 million.
Basically, what he's saying is that I tweeted basically. What he was basically saying with like the whole I think what he was saying with the whole like death what do you call it, death curve or whatever, is that basically people had a lot more kids before, that's why they call them like boomers, like baby boomers, right? Because there was like a lot of babies that happened that like they had like big families, right? They're talking like 4 to 8 kids basically. And then you come around to like the next generation being like barely like replacement rate to like being like, oh, I just want to have 1 kid, or like fuck kids, I don't want any kids at all, right? And so now you have like basically all of these people. So you have the economy, right? And the economy is like a certain size, right? And you have like a bunch of people that have like a lot of money, right? Because so like throughout life, right, basically it's kind of like so it's like this basically. So like during like life, right, So when you start off in life, so this is like a amount of money that you make, right? And then it's like, this is like life, right? As you get older, I guess age, and then this is like money, right? So like basically, you start here and you're like basically like here. So you're like making negative money. You like cost money. You like cost money to like exist. And then like, as you get like older, you start to make like a little bit of money, right? You start to make money. And then once you get to like kind of older, like you get like kind of like middle age, you start to make like way more money. And that's because like experience, right? So like as like this, your age increases, you have more experience and you have like more skills, right? So you start to make more money, right? And you have like, it's like that basically, right? So most of the money is like controlled by kind of older people, right? Well, obviously there's some exceptions, like really like genius, like CEO type people. Obviously there's exceptions, but most of the people that have money are kind of older people because they had time to accrue wealth, get out of the tutorial, get a house. They have a lot more skills, so they make more money, right? So the problem is the people in like this. So we've like kind of created a scenario where we have not that many people anymore because because of like we have cut down on the amount of kids, right? Like basically having kids has been like disincentivized, like culturally not as important as it was before, and then also like there's been the kind of prevalence of baby killing and like contraceptives type stuff, right? So like people are having a lot less kids now, right? And because of that, all of the people like there's a lot more of these people before, right? But now, like the baby boomer people who are in this phase are basically running out. There's like less of these people that are because they're dying, right, at an exponential rate as like time goes on, right? But the problem is there's not enough of these people leveling up into this area, basically. So there's going to be less people to replace these. So these people aren't going to be replaced by these people like as easily. Does that make sense? So like now you're going to have a scenario where there's a lot of noobs and like not a lot of like, high income people basically. And it's possibly could collapse everything. I think that's kind of what he's trying to say, but we'll see.
Every year you will notice it more and more. There are less people, less workers, less business.
Smurf accounts. Yeah. Well, see, that's why they're trying to import people from other places in the world, right? To like make more people. Because the problem, here's like a nasty little problem. Let me tell you a nasty little problem, guys, okay? So let me draw it. There's a nasty little problem here I'm going to tell you about. This is like this is fucking real, okay? So this is how it works, okay? There's like a small amount of people like up here. So this is like the people that can create jobs, right? This is like your CEOs, like your entrepreneurs. This is like entrepreneurs, like CEOs, like kind of like, super smart, like kind of, big dick Chad people that can like kind of create like new enterprises. They can create new products. They're like they're innovative, entrepreneurial risk takers. Like they can like create new businesses, right? You need like a certain amount of these people in order to have these people, which is like this is what most people want to be right here. And this is the people in the middle. This is like the kind of like middle class, upper middle class. And this is like your fucking managers and like, people who are basically tasked by the green people, right? They're being tasked to like do shit, right? And here's the problem. You have this down here and this is down here is all of the giga noobs, right? So this is the giga noobs. This is like the people that are really, really like kind of lower skill people. They're more of like, they're really good at the grind basically, but they're not really like, they can't like do this basically, right? But eventually they want to like do this, right? I mean, sometimes this can happen. Like obviously, like, I guess a good example is like, I don't know, you work at a card shop or something and you're like, oh, I'm like a manager at this card shop and like, I'm learning how to like TCG sim, right? And then you're like, okay, well, I have enough experience. I could probably start my own card shop. And then like you become, and then so a person from here will splinter over here. They'll make a new one. They'll make like a new pyramid, right? Which is good because a new pyramid means you can have more of these people, right? But the problem is you do need like these people. And this is like kids, basically. This is like kids and like younger people who like need to like build up the EXP to like become this, right? But the problem is if you tell people to stop having kids, you have a lot less of these, right? So like you're gonna have a situation now where like this collapses and you don't have enough workers, right? Which is why, like, honestly, like, so there's like kind of two ways around this. Is like one of them is like importation. This is what people want to do. They want to do immigration, right? Like, I don't know how to, like, immigrant, right? They want like immigrants to like take this over. And then the other route is like this, use AI and you take it over using AI, right? So this is AI or like auto, right? So like, these are like the two ways to kind of fill this when you aren't having enough kids, basically. This is what like kind of conservative people want to do. And then this is what liberals want to do. It's like kind of just take your pick, basically, right? It's like one of those to like solve this problem. But there's also like another group of people that are also like kind of similar on this side who just like fuck more, right? And then this is like also like kind of like with the same group as like the auto people. This is like kind of like the more conservative people are like kind of a little bit of both of these, right? So it's kind of like yeah, this kind of props up everything, right? Again, like you need you really need these people, and you really need these people to like make this part exist, basically.
This is less viewers, less sales. As boomers and silents die, there is no one to replace them in Gen Alpha. The death cliff is about 10 years away, where
that the people screaming about abortion are also saying to let the illegals in. Yeah, you see, they killed all the babies. That's the problem. They're reaping the unholy rewards of their actions. There are people who want to let imports take lower skilled jobs, was never worked in history. Well, the problem is, like, I'm gonna be real with you. What happens is a lot of the immigrant, if you don't vet them, you're gonna get more of the kind of grunt workers that can't actually like advance into like the green, but then they want to advance into the orange. And then basically all the Americans want to be in the orange eventually, right? And if you just keep importing people that are like kind of on the edge there of like becoming like, it's basically gonna take up a lot of the orange jobs, which is like what's pissing people off, basically.
Mortality of older,
because you can hire them for orange jobs for cheaper. That's the point.
Boomers and silence will explode, and then it will get crazy. I think most people are taking this for granted, and I believe it's possible that there were systems set up to obfuscate this. Why? Because people didn't want to lose power, because people didn't want their stocks to decline, because people didn't want an economic crisis. Perception is reality. So I don't exactly know what's going on, nor will I tell you I have evidence of any.
Yo, is that what they're doing? They're basically like, yo, like, let's just keep it going for now. Let's just bullshit everything. So it just keeps going, at least until my life is up, basically. You have like these fucking boomer politicians who are just trying to delay the inevitable so that they can like live comfortably until they die. And then it just blows up after they're gone. Blows up on everybody else. And then like, oh, they just keep kicking the can down the road, and eventually someone is going to get blown. It's like playing like a cursed game of hot potato, and they're like basically just passing it on to the next generation over and over and over again until the entire thing blows up in someone's face.
Yeah, that's why I will say this.
And that's probably what's happening is like people are starting to get into the it's about to blow up phase, basically. Yeah.
It appears to me a possibility exists that following the economic crisis, we saw a fertility crash. This was reported on extensively.
See, the biggest contraceptives is taxes, income, and whatever else. Get rid of them, and population explodes. Just get rid of welfare and 95% of state-paid jobs, and you solve the problem. Yeah, well, yeah, because if you tax people more, then they have to. Then they make less money, right? Like they make less money for like how much money is available, right? Because again, how much basically the people in the green at the very top, they can only pay a certain amount to like people in the orange who can only pay a certain amount to people in the red, right? Taxes just basically fucks everybody over because it just lowers the amount that you make. They're not going to pay you more because of the taxes, right? Thank you so much, Rognar. Thank you. Walla Bing Then, thank you so much for the bits again. They try to play hot potato and then invest in life extension.
In 07 and 08.
Yeah, invest in life extension.
Because the market had imploded, what we had seen is that millennials who were in their early 20s were supposed to be entering the workforce, but those entry-level jobs got erased. All of a sudden, what was happening is that Gen Xers in their 30s and late 30s-ish were applying for the same entry-level jobs as millennials. Millennials largely get iced out. A business says, we need an accountant or whatever. And some fresh college grad says, normally I would take this low-level CPA job.
Also, guys, if you're watching the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and leave a comment. What do you guys think? If you're Gen Z, leave a comment on how they're fucking you over. I do read all the comments, by the way, when I can. I read most of them, at least.
Fortunately, a 35, 38-year-old said, I got laid off, I have the experience, and I'm willing to do this because I need to, and I have a family. These businesses then started opting for older people at lower-tier jobs that should have been taken by millennials. Millennials then didn't have the money to buy property, didn't have the money to buy homes, didn't have the money to buy cars, so they certainly were not having children. This was the age bracket that was supposed to be creating the next generation.
Yeah, you need, like in order to, like, actually raise, in order to raise, like, those big, like, families that like boomers were able to do, like you need like a pretty big house. So you can't be living in like a freaking studio apartment, right, and have like 6 kids. Like it's not gonna work, right? You're gonna need like a house, like a multi-floor house with like, you know, at least like 4 bedrooms, right? You like double up the kids in their bedrooms. You have no guest room, right?
They did not. Fertility began to collapse, and many people note all around the world. Well, this was a global financial crisis. Today, fertility is still low, but it makes sense. Fertility is compound.
Dude, it's actually kind of crazy. Like the more I think about it, you ever think about like it's been, man, holy crap. I'm just like, isn't it crazy how it's been like a complete, like almost concerted attack on reproduction in like all fronts, right? Like you have abortion, contraceptives, the whole feminist, like, you know, girl boss movement. You have the, oh my God, you have like the pushing LGBT stuff too. Holy fuck. It's like fucking everything. Man. That's crazy. Is it intentional? I'm just being real. Like if I were the tactician for like a country that was less technologically and militarily advanced than America, this would be how you would attack. Just being real. Like if you can't beat America militarily, like you have to like fuck them up in like some other way. And what better way than to like cut their legs off by just having like making it so they have no more kids and just completely like annihilating the culture. That's crazy, right? Yeah, man.
If you have 80 million people and they each have 2 kids, well, congratulations, you're at replacement, right? What if a generation only produces 40 million babies? If those 40 million babies grow up to be adults and then have each 2 kids,
yeah, and you know, we kill like almost all the babies, right? Like what are the stats on that? I'm actually curious. What do you think is the ratio of babies born to babies killed in abortions? What do you guys think? If you had to guess. It's probably not that high, but it'll be interesting to see. Holy fuck. What? Okay, that's higher than I thought. Holy shit. There are 3.2 babies born for every 1 that's killed. That's crazy. That's a lot higher than I thought. Man, that's almost 25%, man. That's almost 25% of babies just straight up killed. Man, that's so fucked up. Dude, fucking offered onto the altar of Moloch, dude. Holy shit. That's crazy. Man. That's fucked up, man. Is that actually real, dude? That's fucking crazy. How is that possible? Hold on. How is that if it's only 1 million a year, how is that possible? Unless like there was like a year in which it was off the fuck. Oh wait, you're right. This is only United States. You're right. This is only you. Oh my God. It's very possible. Oh my God, man. You guys ever see the abortion? Anybody actually remember when I was talking about the movie Nefarious? Did anybody actually watch it? Dude, the abortion scene, dude. Holy fuck. Wasn't that scene like, dude, that scene was chilling. Like I fucking felt that scene in my gut. Like it was scary, dude. Like wasn't it? It was, dude. I felt that. Like, dude, I was shaking. It was scary as fuck. One of the scariest scenes in a movie I've ever seen, dude. Like I'm not gonna lie.
Still just replacement. Meaning that 40 million will beget 40 million, not 80. You will not recover population. Now, of course, we know that fertility is actually lower than 2 and declining. Again, because the problems created by the financial crisis, and to be fair, well before that, have not been abated, only exacerbated.
Well, hold on. How many people did Hitler kill? Man, the feminist KD is bigger. Uh-oh. Also, exclusively babies. Isn't that crazy? Exclusively babies. Holy shit.
So what I've noticed, You are not seeing the replacement. A business near me, a restaurant, went under. And I was shocked. It was great food, and we ordered them from them all the time. I asked the locals, how is it that this business went under? And they told me they couldn't find any employees. And now you know where Democrats are coming from. When Joe Biden said, smuggle young people into the country, we saw them flying.
You know, I know I'm going into this a little too much, but you know what's also crazy? When the Nazis killed all those people, they basically said that they're not people. So that's why it's okay to kill them. Ain't that crazy? The irony is actually pretty wild, actually.
Illegal immigrant children on planes. When they opened the borders and said, bring everybody in, they were saying, we desperately need to boost population by any means necessary, even sacrificing your own culture. Now, that wasn't going to solve the problem. It was a desperate bid. And I imagine it's a one-for-one. Sure, you might get more workers, but at what expense? And I think the Democrats knew this. You see, the issue is, a developed nation has degrees of skill level. You've got low-skill workers on the low end. You've got mid-tier workers, management, etc. And then you have high-skill workers, executive.
You want to know the other thing that's really bad, too? Is if you consider the motives, right? If you consider the motives between the two, this is the worst part, right? So not only did they both do the same thing of like, they're not people. The Nazis basically, when they did the thing that they did the things that they did, right? They said they committed the atrocities that they did. I'm gonna be a little bit stronger on my language there. They said these people are out to get us, and they are basically fucking up our society, and that they're basically doing it for greed, and that they want to take advantage of all of us. That's what they said. That they're after our families, so we have to do this. That's what the Nazis said. Do you want to know what the feminists said? I don't like responsibility.
CEOs, senior level management. Opening the border and flooding the country.
Responsibility,
All that did was flood the lower bracket, creating
If you think about it, like the reason was like way worse. Actually, the abortion reason is way worse than the other one. The other one you can at least kind of rationalize it, and like they're trying to say like, you know, to them it was like an issue of like their families, right? Their families are under attack. Whereas with the feminists, it's like, yeah, you know, I don't feel like doing it. You know, it's kind of a bother. It's just kind of in the way. You know, I just want to sip my margarita. Like, why would I want to take care of that? Who wants to do that? Like, it's actually so much worse.
At the lowest levels. The argument, I suppose, was those who...
Oh, no, Twitter gonna call me a Nazi again? Ugh, whatever. I don't like Nazis. Okay, guys, I don't. I'm just pointing out the facts. I'm just pointing out the honest facts. I never said that the Nazis were good. I'm just saying which reason is worse. Which reason is worse? I don't like responsibility, or they're coming from my family. Even if they're wrong, okay? Even if they're wrong, their whole thing was they're coming from my family. The whole point of the feminists is I want my freedom, and I want to go to the beach. Like, it's so much worse. Am I the only one that thinks that it's worse? It's fucking awful.
Ran businesses were like, at least I'll get to be rich.
Basically, like the actual motive is worse, is what I'm saying. It's like even in their own delusions, their deluded motive is still worse. That's what I'm saying, basically.
Saying, I'm going to run to the top of the Titanic as the rest of it sinks. You're still not going to survive the long run, but at least you'll survive a little bit longer than everybody else. And thus, I think we're starting to notice it now more and more. Young people aren't appearing for work. This video went viral. I want to show you this video that went viral about a year ago and still pops up from time to time of a young woman.
Whenever you get the chance, look up the founding of Planned Parenthood. Yeah, I know about that. Planned Parenthood was created because they wanted less black people. That's actually the truth, by the way. The person who founded Planned Parenthood was like, yo, we should have less black people. That's why they did it. Like, actually, that's actually historically why they did it. And like, everybody fucking protects them. It's actually insane. Like, I can't, bro. I can't.
who does not understand. And on top of everything we're seeing with generational crisis.
Yes, I know about the ADL too. I know all about the guy who did the crime, and they protected him because he was Jewish. Yes, I know that.
It's only going to get worse. There is no alleviating this in the short term, not even through mass illegal immigration. Check this clip out.
I cannot stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay?
I want to go out and get my hoe on is the actual thing I've heard to normalize abortion. Yeah, the crazy thing is like, I'm gonna be real. You go back to like Clinton, right? And Clinton was like, we gotta make abortion safe, legal, and rare. Right. And then so like he did that. Right. And now they're like, they went from like safe, legal, and rare to like, yo, I just got my abortion. Let's go. Like we went like from that to like, yeah, everybody, I just got my abortion. Like so fucking cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Fuck that kid. Like we went from, dude, it's actually crazy. It's so crazy, man.
I work
it's unreal.
5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week. Okay. I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat. All by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago, when you were getting started, you could live on your own.
Lies. That is a lie. 20 years ago, lady, was the financial crisis, okay? 20 years ago, I was a teenager, and I could not afford anything.
I have another hot take. You guys want my hot take, chat? Here's my hot take. Listen. If we want chivalry, right? If guys have to be responsible, right? If guys have to be responsible for paying for dinner, they're going to be responsible for buying the house and being the breadwinner, right? If guys have to have that, then women have to be responsible for not killing kids and not freaking fucking everybody. Okay? I think it's only fair.
All of my friends were living with their parents and there were no jobs. Now, why does this young woman believe such a stupid thing to say outright that in...
God, I'm going to get so canceled for this video. Fuck.
This is from a year ago. So she's saying...
First, she's talking about the feminists being worse than Hitler and the Nazis. And now she's talking about hoes...
2004. In 2004, this is a few years before the financial crisis. My friends were working fast food jobs. I was working at at O'Hare Airport. I could not afford an apartment, and I was sleeping on couches and eventually sleeping in my car. And that's someone who had what is considered to be a good job.
20 years ago, when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do.
Lies. I'm going to tell you guys again. I hope there's some Gen Zs out there, and I hope you share this video because this affects you more than anybody else. Millennials, we got you guys. What does that mean? Listen, when I start a business and I need young people to work, Gen Z is there looking for good jobs, and I get my pick of the litter. You guys don't have that because Gen Alpha is microscopic because millennials could not have kids. And this is what these young people like this, they don't realize. I know there's a lot of Gen Z that totally get it. They're shifting conservative. They're moving to rural areas. They're moving to small towns. They're finding churches. They're trying to get back to nature and to tradition to bring back what made this country great. They're recognizing the failings of the liberal economic order. But young women like this go viral because other Gen Zers are like, yeah, man, you millennials 20 years ago could do anything you wanted. All of my friends, I grew up in Chicago, not a poor area. Upper lower class, I might call it. People owned homes, though, and their parents made enough money to own a home. All of my friends lived with their parents, struggled to make ends meet. That was normal. And then the financial crisis happened within a couple years after that. So she's saying in 2020,
I guess that's true. There was like a financial crisis then, too, but... I don't know if it's as bad as like this one. This one's like kind of bad. Like this one's been pretty annoying. Like the price of everything has gone up like drastically, like really drastically. Like in the last and that's like for commodities, like kind of everyday stuff. Like not to mention like shrinkflation, where like things have gotten smaller. You get a lot less than you used to before. But I don't know. Like, I feel like the because, you know, I cook, right? So like, I know I am very well aware of the price of like basic like ingredients, and they have definitely gone up by like a crazy amount in like the last like 5 years.
Within 3.
But is it very comparable to 2000? I don't know. Like, maybe like I just don't remember. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem like it was that bad. Like as bad as this one. I don't know. It's the same financial crisis, just delayed by quantitative easing. It never stopped. Yeah. Probably. Thank you for the bits, Walla Walla. Thank you.
3.5 years, the market imploded and millennials were...
But yeah, I guess you're right. It is kind of like the same thing. It's just probably my perception of it isn't like as clear.
Destitute. We did not have anything that you're claiming we had.
Let me add another perspective here. You've been working for 20 years. You have 20 years of working experience behind your belt.
Wasn't that when Obama gave everyone free money? He was like, yo, I know how to solve this. Here's a bunch of free fucking money. And then freaking Biden did the same thing. He did like literally the same thing. It was like, here's some free money, because that's what solves everything. We give everyone free money. Like, he's freaking stupid. He's freaking
You have
morons.
20 years of experience in a career that has allowed you.
You know, it's not free, right? You know, like the money's not free. You know, it just like seems like it's free, but it's not really free, because now the money's worth less. So they just fucked over everything else that you had and made everything more expensive, and then made it so that like the everything became more expensive, but then the employers just pay the same amount, because like, why not? Why, you know?
To gain raises,
they
to get more money, to profit you in an economy that you created.
Millennials did not create this economy. I don't think she understands the difference between millennials, Gen X, and boomers. Now, maybe she's talking about 40 years ago. You could get a job in the 80s. The economy was booming, and you could be a manager at a grocery store and afford a house. This is what these young people do not understand. Yo, lady, I feel ya, because millennials were all there in the exact same spot. And to this day, millennials have only just started.
Tim Pool, like, hello, fellow Zoomers.
I am 39. I am 39 years old. I should have had a kid 20 years ago. 20 years. Well, not 20, not at 19, but about 18 years ago.
Dude, Tim Pool, your kid could have been skating right now. Your kid could have been the new Tony Hawk.
Markets crashed and the system imploded. It was supposed to be me that was starting my family. How am I supposed to do that sleeping on a floor or sleeping in a car?
True.
It wasn't that I didn't want to. It's that the opportunity didn't exist. There was no point at which I thought, today, I'm going to focus on family. No, it was, where am I sleeping? You know what I would do when I worked at O'Hare? This is the secret. You'd sleep in the pilot's lounge. You'd work a double shift, 16 hours a day, because you barely made any money. And then, and they tax you to oblivion. And then at 10:30, 11, they do Mando, they call it. It's overtime. If you work the night shift, it always happened. We'd go in the pilot's lounge. There'd be a couple...
They get you with the taxes, and then your union takes another, like, cut of your money.
Recliners, and we'd fall asleep.
Total ass.
And you know what? The pilots, they were pretty cool about it. So long as when they got it in the morning, you weren't bothering them or in their way, nobody batted an eye. And me and a couple of the guys would be sitting in recliners. We'd pass out. Why? Because we ended work at 11, and we had to be at work at 5:30 in the morning. We'd wake right back up and get back to a 16-hour shift where we would take home $100 for the day. And we would do that as often as we could to try and pay our rent, and we still could not afford anything. I got lucky. I got to sleep. Eventually, some guy, he let me sleep in his basement. That's what it was like.
You can sit here and you can call Gen Z lazy all you want, but I've been working my tail end off just to barely make it by. And respectfully, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to work my tail end off, wasting all of my life working just to barely be able to pay my bills.
You know what's really funny is I also pulled up on ChatGPT to compare this. Monthly expenses estimated in 2005 for an 18-year-old is $2,300. Monthly expenses in 2025 for an 18-year-old is $2,750 to $2,800. That is, if you expect to live at the same standard, meaning with your parents. The point is, when I was 18, the amount of money I needed to be able to live, assuming I was living at home with my parents, and I wasn't, was $2,300, and I didn't make that much. Even working for an airline with a union job.
Living with your parents is a huge buff. You should do it if you can. Just being real. You're not like a pussy for living with your parents. You're just being not retarded. If you don't have parents to live with, or your parents don't want you to live with them, then I mean, sucks, I guess.
job. So I ask this.
When I say that, I don't mean like live with your parents and just mooch off of them the whole time. I mean like live with your parents and like build power, you know, accrue power, level up while you're doing that, right? You can like accrue some money so that you can like have enough money for a down payment.
I ask this. Why do you think young people feel this way? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you this. And I hope all the Gen Z kids hear this and understand what this means. When you guys are getting older, there will not be a younger generation to provide work and labor for you. Good luck.
Robots.
I'll put it this way.
Or immigrants, depending which camp you are.
You are not going to convince a millennial to make you a cheeseburger. It's not going to happen. The 30 and 40-year-old millennial is already advanced well beyond that. Some of them
doesn't help that companies like BlackRock and Vanguard are buying all of the houses on the market and putting them back up. Just renting them and driving the rent prices, sometimes increasing by over 70%. Man.
Of course, people always work lower tier jobs. People will work where they need it. Some Gen Z will take off, but I'm talking about generalities. Millennials struggled and we couldn't find work. The economic crisis destroyed everything, and the COVID crisis didn't make anything better. Millennials are only slowly just now starting to have kids, 20 years too late. And this means something really, really bad for all of Gen Z. It means this. When we finally reached our 30s and we wanted to go have a burger or an ice cream cone, there were Gen Z kids who needed that job. When I go shopping at Walmart, you young lady Kat, your name is, you are there working at Walmart. Because I am not going to work at Walmart. You don't want to work at Walmart. But I've got experience and skills which allow me to get different jobs.
He's got a particular set of
money
skills.
Are considered more valuable. Now, Gen Z, the bad news for you. The likelihood on average of the Gen Z generation hiring a millennial to work entry-level jobs in their business is low, but that's always been the case. Older generations typically hire younger generations. Younger generations develop skills and then inherit these businesses, these enterprises. That's not going to happen for Gen Z because there's more Gen Z than Gen Alpha. So Gen Z is going to be looking to start businesses and find means of making money. But the labor doesn't exist. And this is what socialists and communists do not ever understand. It is the collective labor that makes something possible, that makes this way of life possible. So when you young ladies say, I don't want to work for the rest of my life for nothing, go tell your ancestors 200 years ago that, because they woke up at 6 a.m. and went to bed at midnight, working every single day to survive, and that was existence.
Yeah, they lived on the fucking like farm. They were like freaking peasants growing wheat, eating like porridge and shit, you know? True. That's true.
There is this myth of the peasants that got 6 months.
Honestly, we have it so good. I'm just being real. Like we should be grateful for what we have because it's crazy. Like as, in terms, you know, obviously like rich people were always rich people. Like in every age, there was like a king. There was like, you know, the aristocratic class or whatever. There was always like those people, right? But when it comes to like kind of the poorer people and the kind of middle of the road people, we have it so good right now in society. Like in terms of that.
Of vacationers, when it wasn't time to harvest the crops, they did nothing and they played their lutes and danced around. No, they worked all.
Farmers still do this, yup.
Every day. They feared.
But they're not eating fucking gruel though, right? Right? So there's a little bit of a difference. Even with farming, it's still a little bit different. A lot less just hard physical. I mean, there is physical labor, obviously, with farming. Like there always will be. But it is a lot less than it was before. Basically, even now. And you don't have to eat like shit, basically, right?
Wild animals. They feared barbarians and
yeah, and that too. You don't have to worry about getting fucking raided.
Who would ransack their property and take whatever they wanted. So now what's going to happen is a return to the mean. With the population decline, there's going to be less food, less enterprise, less business, and you are going to have to rely on yourself more and more. I hope you all realize this. For the boomers, right now we're already experiencing this. Boomers, too, need young people to work these jobs. And Kat, who is a Gen Z, probably in her early 20s, because I'm not gonna average out and say she's the oldest of Gen Z. She's saying, all right, I don't want to work at Walmart anymore. Here's the bad news. The businesses that exist don't need that many managers. They do need burger flippers. Now, normally what happens as population grows is that you, Kat, would actually start your own grocery store or your own burger joint.
Yup.
And you'd say, I have made myself my own boss. You'd go to a local area, you go to a bank and say,
that's what I
this
mean.
area,
like you build up enough experience, like kind of in that middle zone, like the orange zone I was talking about earlier. You build up enough EXP in the orange zone and you can move to the green zone. You can make your own.
Growing.
You make your own fucking pyramid, right?
Have popped up. More and more people are coming and they want burgers. I worked at a burger restaurant for 5 years, and then I eventually became the manager. Here's what I'm going to do. The bank says, we'll give you a loan. You buy a property, you start a burger restaurant, you're in your late 20s, you got a wife and a kid, it's your new enterprise. You hire a bunch of Gen Alpha who need jobs. That's not going to happen. You know why? Because there is no Gen Alpha. Because Gen Alpha is half the size of Gen Z. So Gen Z is now entering their late 20s. They're going to these banks. It's all figurative, by the way, saying, I want to open a business. They say, find an area of economic development.
Yeah, weren't there a lot of like kind of stores that closed because they couldn't hire? Basically, there's like not enough people. It's like a lot of people saying like there's not enough jobs, but there actually were a lot, but they were like kind of lower level jobs.
They go, there aren't any. This means Gen Z are competing for scraps. Those that actually do open their businesses say, I can't find anyone to work. There aren't enough young people. The demand isn't there. The workers aren't there. And so I'll go back to my original tweet. You will notice it more and more. Now, what does that mean for me or for you or for anybody else? As more and more people go on social media and start producing content, it is going to be a battle royale for scraps. Shows like Timcast IRL can't survive.
Man, I'm pretty good at
Water's
battle royale.
World or The Five, these massive production costs, they can't survive. What's likely to happen? The studio that we have for Timcast IRL probably costs a collective $100,000. And we've got 3 or 4 people that really run the core functions and make it operate. Then you've got talent and all of that stuff. I get paid a fraction of what the other big TV stars get paid, and Bill Maher and all these people. They're big contracts because they're grandfathered in. And they get a lot of the older viewers where there's still money. But I'll put it like this.
He's also probably running a lot,
3 million viewers. I think, what is it, like 300,000 are in the key demo.
I think the one thing that people like kind of underestimate, I think, is that like when you're in charge of something, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it. I think a lot of people don't really think about that. That when you're like on top and you're like kind of your own boss, there's a lot of anxiety that is included in that package.
Are below the age of, 49 or younger, 18 to 49. The money demo. The money demo ain't 18 to 49 anymore. The money demo is the geriatrics. It's a much bigger generation. When you combine Gen Xers and Boomers, you got right now between Boomers, you got 140 million. I would say the best target would be millennials and Gen X, where you have 160 million people. So that means you're going to want to play songs like Metallica, 90s stuff, where the millennials heard it as kids and the Gen Xers heard it as young adults. You're going to target them for these products, and you're going to aim away from things that require low-skill labor. I say automation will take over. It's not going to completely, but we are in for a collapse by which most people can't recognize. Every year, you will notice it more and more. There's going to be nobody to make your cheeseburger, bro. And a Gen Xer in their 50s, half of them own homes, they're not going to want to go work at a burger joint. So who's going to make the burger?
Robots.
A robot?
Yup.
Good luck. I'll leave it there. Stay tuned. We got more coming for you today. We'll see you on the next segment.
Good luck. I mean, what if the robots are good? I mean, Elon's making those robots, right? Elon's making the robots. They're going to be able to do it soon. Cat girl. Guys, would you buy one of those Elon robots if you could? Like, just to like do like menial tasks around the house, like wash your dishes and shit. Would you do that? Would you buy them? I would totally buy one. Fuck it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to like, I don't want to do chores, bro. What the hell? I could be doing so much more, literally Detroit become human. Well, I mean, you just don't make them like, humanoid, right? Like you don't make them like, talk to you like a person, right? You'd buy that Grok girlfriend bot. I heard it had an update. Shinzo Abe was both ahead of his time and woefully too late. Also human supremacy F clankers. Well, if you had the clankers for like, menial tasks, you could do so much more with your life, right? Like for instance, right? Like you're spending time, like say, like you spend time like mowing the lawn or whatever, right? Or you spend time, I don't know, doing the laundry, right? If you have a clanker do your laundry for you, think about how much like better you could be at video games. Or think about how much work you could get done. You could start a side hustle, start a business, right? You could do all sorts of stuff with like, an extra like 1 hour a day, right? Would robots replace jobs like the police? Man, I don't know. See, the police, that gets a little weird. Like having like the clankers, like having them replace the police is like, that's a little weird. Right. Let's be real. Maintenance on one of those robots is going to be more than on a car. I mean, why would it be more than on a car? And and all you got to do is have have another one and then just have them maintain each other. You have a little robot 69 and they'll fix themselves right up, right?